Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hi, y'all. This is red.olaughlin, and this is Talking Heads on the USA Global Radio and TV Network. However, we're also on the E360 network, and we're on Roku, and we're on Amazon Fire, and more and more and more and more is growing and growing in this wonderful network of the USA Global TV and Radio Network system. It's interesting how. Do you want to be on this one? Do you want to be on that? It's just growing and growing, and that kind of stimulated a little bit of my thinking since I finished up the last section on STEM and how it affects our health and our longevity. One of the other areas that affects our longevity is nutrition. And I finally have a chance. I get about 15 books on my whiteboard over here, and I'm working on 3 right now, but nutrition is not one of them. But nutrition is on my list, and it's one I definitely want to do. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let me go ahead and the slides loaded up, because it's a topic that I really and truly love, because it's one of those ones I research all the time. So before we get into that directly, I'm a researcher. I'm not in the medical field, never been a doctor, not in any pharmaceutical industries, nothing. I had a love that I developed since my sophomore year in high school in chemistry. Got my first degree in it. I got several others after that. But I evaluate, I assess the chemical reactions that happen in the body at the cellular level. And I look for what causes them, what speeds them up, what slows them down. If you need to shut them down, how do you shut them down? And so I look for causes. I want to treat a problem that you can solve, not treat problems that are like putting a Band-Aid on something. The cause is still there, you're just changing Band-Aids. Symptoms hide the real damage that's occurring, because all you're doing is putting something on the outside. And as always, this presentation is for awareness and education. Now, nutrition. Nutrition is a study of food and how it works in our bodies. So we look at a nutrient It's a chemical compound. Yeah. That's what I love, the chemistry part of it. So it could be a chemical like calcium. It can be a chemical compound like an enzyme. But each of these things are chemical issues that affect our bodies one way, shape, or form, and we need them. If we don't have them, we don't grow, we don't function well. Uh, some literature says there's 40 different nutrients. Um, it's probably more than that. They put them into 7 different categories: carbs, proteins, fats. We hear about all the time. Vitamins, minerals. Well, we hear about that quite a bit too. And dietary fiber. Well, don't hear about that so much, but it's super critical. And water. Those are the primary ones that we're looking at. So as we're going through proteins, well, you get plant and animal proteins. Animal proteins are fairly complete. They have generally all the amino acids that we need, and we're going to get into that down the road. But plants are not. So if you're a vegan or vegetarian, you got to be extra critical of your food choices in order to get the nutrition you need, because some things are just not available in a plant-based system. Vitamin B12, for instance, that strictly comes from animals. So you got to take it as a supplement. But if you take it as a supplement, now you have another problem, because it's supposed to dissolve under your tongue, go straight into the bloodstream. But the B12, if you take it in a typical pill, it goes into the stomach. It's destroyed by the digestive acids down there, and you don't get any B12. And there's issues when you're deficient in it. Fats, you got your typical saturated, unsaturated, polyunsaturated, lots and lots of things there. Carbs, simple and complex. Your vitamins are typically your fat soluble and water soluble. And then when we get to minerals, our macronutrient and micronutrient, how much of whatever it is there. Fiber, soluble and insoluble, water, and there's many different kinds. You wouldn't think so, but when you go to a grocery store and you're buying water, well, you got alkaline water, you got fizzy water, you got this water, you got this other kind of water, well water, tap water, filtered water, different ways of filtering the water. Lots of issues there with water. And so it's not one of those ones we think about, but it's probably the number one most critical nutrient the body needs every single day. Amino acids, generally classified as essential or non-essential. Phytochemicals, phytonutrients, dozens. Enzymes, same way. So we end up with another things that affect our nutrition are the free radicals. These can be any one of those items that we just talked about, just literally. A chemical compound that loses an electron. Now it becomes not only the compound minus an electron, it becomes a term under free radical. It now can do damage. Its main purpose in life has changed from helping the body heal itself, grow, function. It now is looking for an electron to stabilize itself. So now it's a scavenger. It's out there looking for something. So it finds a nice stable molecule, it gloms onto it, steals an electron. Now the free radical stabilized, but the molecule that it stole an electron from is now a free radical. Never ending spiral. We'll talk about that. Antioxidants, well, that's one of those things that neutralizes free radicals. Again, major topic of discussion. Anti-inflammatories, we have sensitivities, we have tolerances, we have all sorts of stuff. When we're talking about nutrition, it's a big field. We have allergies, we have synergies, and more. So I want to start here. I want to start at the 30,000 foot level and kind of dive in, a deep dive into the individual chemical compounds and what's important for us to know. So if we start up there at that 30,000 foot level, CDC, Centers for Disease Control, they classify a lot of things. They tell us that in the United States, 10 to 30% of us are deficient. I think it's much higher than that. If you're nutrient deficient in B12, you're probably nutrient deficient in 70, 80%. I know there are some things there, magnesium, calcium. There are things that we're looking well over 50%. And how can you have 50% of the population deficient in something and not include it as a nutrient deficient item as a population variant? So I think they're kind of doing a disservice. But go into Google and say, what percentage of the U.S. is deficient in, pick anything you want, vitamin D. and it'll tell you 80%, whatever the number is. And then you think, okay, well, if 80% are there, how do we get this 10 to 30? Well, actually, the initial figure was 10%. And then they kind of hedge their bet and say, well, maybe up to 30%. So I think they're pulling the wool over our eyes a little bit. We've heard of this RDA a long time, recommended daily allowance. Now, I'm going to talk about Wahls protocol here in a minute. I'm going to kind of shoot that one not completely out of the water, but there's issues there that, yeah, that's the minimum daily requirement. But our bodies, depending on what we're doing, if you're pregnant, you need different things than if you're a professional athlete, or if you're 75 years old and have multiple health issues. Lots and lots of things affect our daily allowance requirement for our body. There's a term I had not heard of before called adequate intake. Well, again, it's something that they're using. Estimated average requirement. Now you're starting to get into that scientific field of the CDC. And then they have the tolerable upper intake level. Again, these are terms that we really don't use, but they're terms that are used in the industry all the time. CDC, they define a nutrient deficiency when a person is less than the RDA, less than the AI, and less than the AR. And there's many other things there too, but that's when they classify a deficiency. Now, it might be an individual nutrient deficiency. Take something like B12. Well, if I'm deficient in B12, it mimics Alzheimer's. It has a cognitive problem in our body. If I'm deficient in B1 or B3, I'm starting to look at depression and anxiety. A lot of things occur even when just a single nutrient is missing. Vitamin A, if you have a deficiency long enough, you're going to have vision problems. If you're driving and you find out that you can't drive as well at night as you used to, might just be a vitamin A deficiency. It might be something that can be easily fixed. We've heard about scurvy in the old pirate times. Well, it's vitamin C. That's why they would carry limes and other citrus products on the ships in order to prevent scurvy. Calcium. When you're low in calcium, you get osteoporosis. But sometimes you don't always get what you're looking for. In other words, there used to be a commercial smiley face person drinking milk. Milk makes the body stronger, or whether they're inferring that you get stronger bones with calcium. Well, you do, but the problem is milk is not the answer. It's part of the answer, because to get calcium to the bone, you have to have magnesium in your body in order to help that calcium dissolve a little bit, and you have to have the right kind of calcium. Most of the calcium out there you take in pill form is not really viable as far as being available in the body. And then you need it to get out of the stomach, and it passes through the duodenum. If you have enough vitamin D3 in your bloodstream, it'll extract the calcium out of the passageway, and then it gets into the bloodstream. Okay, now I get calcium. It can go to two places. It can go to your bones where you want it, or it can go to your heart valves and arteries. It's called plaque. But you need vitamin K2 in order to send it to the bones. So once you get it in the bones, it's not a matter of just keeping the vitamin K2 there, because now the pH of your bloodstream determines whether it stays there or not. A lot of issues in there. We'll talk about some of these things down the road. We've talked about them quite a bit in the past, but you don't have enough calcium, osteoporosis, and other related things. So what's the ideal intake per day? Well, they say 2,000 calories for women, 2,500 for men. What's a calorie? Well, in a physical chemistry perspective, it's the amount of energy to raise 1 gram of water 1 degree Celsius. So when you take in food, our bodies burn the food as energy. That energy is measured in terms of calories. So if I have a baked potato, it's got 300 calories, and I have a grape over here and it's got 22 calories. Everything has calories, and they all add up. I want to throw this out because it just occurred to me when I was putting the slide together. A term is used, body mass index, BMI. It was originally developed to evaluate populations. It's never been used, or we use it all the time in the United States, for individuals. It's never intended to be used for individuals. You have two people totally different, but they use a body mass index. Insurance companies use it all the time, but it's really not using the terminology correctly because there's so many things that can affect that. But when you break it down into what do we really need, according to the experts, carbs. Half your diet should be carbs. Personally, I think that's ridiculous. There's no essential carb that's needed out there. You can not have carbs at all and have a perfectly healthy life. Again, my personal opinion, but according to the experts, they want you to have 45, 65%. Proteins, you absolutely need proteins because you get essential fatty acids, lots of fats. You have essential enzyme, non-essential, essential enzymes that our bodies create, but the ones we can't create, we need to get from our proteins. The same thing with fats. We need the essential fatty acids, not the non-essential. So there's things in there, and we can get a fat, omega-6 and omega-3. We'll talk a little bit about omega-9s down the road. But Dr. Terry Wahls, and we got plenty of time here. I fell in love with the aspect of researching the human body based on a book that she wrote called The Wahls Protocol. My wife had been going through months of chemo for breast cancer. She's about ready to enter radiation. So we had months of that. We're looking forward to weeks of radiation. And we talked to her radiologist, and he said her fatigue would at least stay the same, probably get worse. Okay, that wasn't what we wanted to hear. Her fatigue was something if she's taking 1, 2, 3 2-hour naps a day, didn't want to eat anything, just had no interest in a lot of things, just absolute fatigue. Well, Dr. Terry Wahls came down with MS late in life. She did everything the doctors told her to do, and it got worse and worse. She finally ended up in a wheelchair for a few years, and she did some research on our autoimmune system, and she wrote a book called The Wahls Protocol, Wahls, Wahls. And within 3 months, she was able to get out of a wheelchair she'd been in for years and walk using a walker. Within 3 months, she could walk using a cane. By the end of the year, she was bicycling 18 miles. I see her all the time on social media. You would never know that she has any kind of disease. She's really a vibrant personality. But in between chemo that my wife had, we were able to address most of the side effects of the meds, but fatigue. And we didn't really want to keep addressing that, but there was no future. So let's change our diet. And we did, because there's 4 parts of the protocol. One is the diet. And I'll talk about this down the road as we get into it. But we changed her diet, and 48 hours after changing her diet, her brain fog, her fatigue disappeared. A day or two later, actually, I think 7 days later, she was working back up at the church as a volunteer. She breezed through radiation with no fatigue issues. The last day of radiation, we jumped in the car, same day, and drove to Jacksonville, Florida. It's 1,000 miles. So 2-day trip over there. I rented a U-Haul to bring my parents' estate stuff back. She followed me 48 hours after her last radiation treatment by herself, 500 miles a day for 2 days, all because of a change in diet. It wiped out a lot of issues. So here's a case where nutrients changed a lot of aspects of things that were affecting the body, making it function better. So anyway, so Dr. Terry Wahls, The Wahls Protocol, I'll always plug that one as one of the better books to get. But when we look at our nutrition, our body's energy is supplied either by blood sugar, that's for most of us, or by ketones. Generally speaking, if there's enough time between you going to bed at night and you having something to eat the next day, you might end up generating some ketones. Insulin is a hormone. It helps the blood sugar get into our cells. That's where our cells get the energy in order to function as a cell, to function as an organ, to function as a body. Insulin loves to store fat. So if there's extra blood sugar that's not being used, insulin signals the liver to make more for storage. So we have this, not necessarily an imbalance. We're just not burning up as much blood sugar as we need. But insulin also lowers the blood sugar over time because it's being used, and glucagon raises it. So you need a good, healthy balance between the two. So as I'm looking at this thing, I'm looking at my insulin resistance. In other words, I'm not getting the efficiency out of my insulin that I used to. I need more to do the same job that it used to do 2 years ago. I have leptin on the other side of the hormone that says, whoa, hold it. I got plenty and don't need any more food. So it reduces our appetite. It causes our food intake to go down. But over time, we can also get leptin resistance, which means we don't slow down from eating. We just keep going. Overconsumption, weight gain, a lot of other issues, a lot of fat storage. We have some other hormone resistance issues, but they're less common. But for us, the two primary ones here are insulin and leptin, and we'll go a little bit more into detail because it's really and truly part of the nutrition system as to how we operate. Okay, vitamins. We're down into the nutrient level. So now we're diving down to about 500 feet, and we're starting to look at what is out there and how do we use it. Okay, so vitamins are nutrients, but we don't need very many of them. They're needed in small amounts in the body. Water, we need a lot. Vitamins, not so much. But our bodies can't make what we need, so we need to have them from our diet, from the foods we choose, or from the supplements that we buy. A healthy diet provides everything. Sometimes you end up with synthesized vitamins, and so you're taking a pill, it's a multivitamin, multi-mineral, whatever it may be called, and you're not getting everything. I notice that most of them don't have vitamin K2 in there. B12 is a cobalamin. It's a mineral. It's a vitamin made from cobalt. When you get it as a methylcobalamin, you put it under the tongue, it dissolves, goes into the bloodstream. Otherwise, if you buy it as a cyanocobalamin, the B12 enters the stomach and is destroyed by our stomach acid. Calcium. If I buy calcium as a carbonate, very difficult to get that calcium away from that carbonate and into our bodies. Magnesium, I just bought some yesterday and they're looking for it, and I'm amazed because two of the compounds that I rarely ever buy is oxide and carbonate. I don't. For calcium, I get citrate. For magnesium, I'll get citrate or glycinate or something. But they were selling oxide and carbonate. I'm thinking to myself, this is a pretty hefty price on something that's totally worthless or nearly worthless. I remember a particular company that I went in to take a look at. They were selling some vitamins or vitamin-like products, and one of the products they had in there in the table of contents in the list was magnesium, but they had it as an oxide. And I said, "Is this right?" And the guy says, "Hey, wait, we got our researcher over, our scientist," and he came over and told me, bold-faced, "Yeah, we tested about a bunch of things, and that was the best one." And I know oxides are very difficult to get into our bodies. I didn't believe him. I didn't say anything. Vitamin E, eight different chemical molecules. The one that's typically put in supplements synthesized doesn't do any good for the body whatsoever. It might as well just put it in the toilet. Vitamin D, again, something that we're very deficient in. I find vitamin D to be fairly easy to get into the body, but sometimes we'll talk about vitamin D down the road because it's a pretty interesting chemical. We get it from the sunshine. So let's see, what do we have here? Well, yeah, we got plenty. Let's go ahead and start with vitamin A. We have vitamins that are fat soluble or vitamins that are water soluble. If it's a water soluble vitamin, you can take it anytime. If it's a fat soluble vitamin, such as A, you probably ought to take it with a meal and have a meal that has some level of fat in it, butter or whatever it may happen to be. So now that fat soluble vitamin actually gets dissolved in the fat in the food that you're taking, gets into our bloodstreams much easier. Some of the sources of vitamin A: dairy, cheese, eggs, greens, fruits. Functions, yeah, we're back up at the upper level a little bit, but basically vision, our immune system, reproduction, growth cycles, pretty important. We get deficient in it. Sometimes we might end up with a little bit of eye dryness, a little bit of night vision issues. Sometimes if you get too much, headaches, blurry vision, fatigue, and even infertility issues. We're talking about reproduction. that's a natural follow-on for that. Okay, this is an area that I think we can probably get done before we end up today, but there's 8 different B vitamins. They're all water soluble, which means you can take them anytime. First one's B1, thiamine. It helps our bodies convert food into energy. Pretty important. Sources: proteins, nuts, eggs, fruits, veggies, grains, a lot of sources. If we're deficient in it, might have a weight loss issue, might have confusion, cognitive problems, muscle, cardiac issues down the road. Too much, it's unlikely. Our body flushes it out pretty quickly. So if we have too much of that, body takes care of it, it's gone. So here, let me see here, the B2, that's probably a good place to stop because we're going to get into B3 next, and that's a really complex molecule, and I don't want to do it injustice by just touching on it. So with that being said, next week we're going to start picking up a deep dive into the individual vitamins. What are they? What are sources? What are the deficiencies if you have too much? And what other things are involved in those vitamins? So with that being said, I'm going to sign off for today and catch you all next week and deep dive into nutrition week 2. Take care. Bye, y'all.
Women of the Caribbean and around the world, are you tired of the status quo? Tired of barely making ends meet? Tired of giving maximum effort for minimum results? Are you in need of change, a fresh start, a new outlook, a new perspective? It's time to break through. Join us along with women from around the world at the Empower Her Escape, a 5-day all-inclusive royal cruise to the Bahamas and Florida. Connect with world leaders and influencers and begin afresh your journey to more. Hear dynamic speakers with sessions on women in leadership, the importance of mentorship, how to start a business from the ground up, financial literacy, an integrated approach to wellness and wholeness, and so much more. Guest speakers include First Lady Anne-Marie Davis of the Bahamas, Her Royal Highness Katerina of Yugoslavia Lady de Silva, Her Royal Highness Queen Sekothali Mepena of South Africa, and Coach Max, Global Multi-Six-Figure Wealth Coach. Cruise packages include 2 nights at an all-exclusive resort, gratuities, taxes, and port fees, red carpet welcome and extravaganza, course materials, and a souvenir gift bag, flight not included. The Empower Her Escape Cruise takes place on May 15th through the 19th, 2024, departing from the port of Palm Beach, Riviera Beach, Florida. Hosts for this life-changing event are Coach Cherish Hollingsworth of Florida and Coach Mercy Gilbert of the UK. For more information, visit our website at www.empowerherroyalescape.com or call us at 954-203-6608 or email us at cherishresiliencecoach@gmail.com. Connect, collaborate, celebrate at the Empower Her Escape Cruise.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the Secrets of Visual Impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance in Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you. USA Global TV and Radio presents international award-winning author, speaker, educator, Diane Floyd Bame.
I want to thank everybody for joining us today on this special edition of the Corner Bookstore, USA Global TV. And we're talking with the co-host of the Corner Bookstore, Diane Floyd Bame today, who is herself an author of many books, not just children's books, but also books for adults. Diane, welcome to the Corner Bookstore.
Everyone should have their own library. Even children should start developing their library and know that what happens in a garden, it grows. And I want their library to grow. And never, ever get rid of a book, because what you might have enjoyed as a child reading and having lovely memories of your parents reading as you get older, you'll grow to cherish those books in another way. My specialty is to help people realize that we are all storytellers, and that if you have this yearning to get this story out, but you don't know how to get started, I want to be the person that you can come to, you can feel comfortable with. I'll learn your personality. We'll just go and have itty bitty baby steps, just like in my book, A Time to Fly. Before you know it, the young new author is ready to fly to and go to super professional coaches.
Diane's books are available now at dianefloydbame.com. Charlie and the Tire Swing, How It Began. A Time to Fly. A Song of Peace. Rise, a girl's struggle for more. Harry the Camel. The Little Girl in the Moon. The Little Girl in the Moon, Moxie and Tycho Town. Moon League Adventures, the Serengeti.
And I'm saying, go for it.